and I will turn it over to Becca Robbins. Welcome, Becca.
Hi. So I'm excited to teach you guys a little bit about Instagram tonight. A little bit about me. I have 3 main Instagram. I run a lot of Instagram accounts for other people, but the 3 that are kind of mine are, well, the Becca Robbins is totally mine. Family Adventure and Travel is totally mine. And then I also run Disneyland with Kids, which is an Instagram account attached to the Disneyland with Kids Facebook groups that I co-founded with some of you Traveling Moms, actually. So I'm going to go over a lot, and so I'm just going to ask that if you have questions to either jot them down or put them in the chat if you're on the computer, and I will stop every once in a while to take them, but there's way too much to cover in the amount of time we have, and so I'm going to kind of move fast, and but I'll try not to go too fast for you. So, hold on just one second, I gotta click on my, there it goes. So over here on the, if you're watching, you can see my profile over here, and it kind of lets you know. So last year I had under 2,500 Instagram followers, and I thought I would grow my Instagram, and I thought it was going to be the miracle way to get more traffic to my site, and I was wrong. So we are going to talk today about why you should grow your Instagram and why it's important, and also tell you what to do to grow it and how to use it and that kind of stuff. And then finally, we're going to talk about insights to your Instagram. All right. So first thing to know is who is on Instagram. And Instagram has 800 million monthly users. It goes back and forth between being the largest growing and the second largest growing platform. So of those 800 million people, 500 million users are on there daily. So there's 500 million on any given day on Instagram. And the big thing for us as influencers and brands and Traveling Mom and that kind of thing is that 80% of users follow at least one brand on Instagram voluntarily. And I saw another report, but I couldn't find it to quote it and make sure I was, citing them correctly, but it said 54% of people follow at least 10 brands or more. So we are influencers. We are considered brands in that case. Here's where you really need to know, what you guys really want to know, though, is that your users on Instagram are primarily under the age of 34, but there's a good amount clear up until the age of 45. So if your target audience is over 45, then they may not be on Instagram, and this may not be the platform that you want to focus on. And the other thing is over half of the users are female, which means that if we're trying to get moms, we're going to have a better time than maybe Traveling Dad that wants to get some dad followers. Of course, moms and dads can follow both accounts, but all right. So of course, why should you be on Instagram? Well, I just gave you 800 million reasons. There's 800 million people using it. It's also a visual platform. So that the benefit of that is, as we know from doing our blog posts, we always talk about in our blog posts, short paragraphs and lots of pictures to help break it up for people. Instagram automatically does that for them. It breaks them up in those little bits of information that they want to use. So that is why Instagram is important and why it works so well for influencers. It's also a great place to build a community. So when you're thinking of your social media, and when I say social media, I'm not talking about Pinterest because they are technically a search engine and they're, all that, but like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, those are all different communities that you are building that are part of your overall brand. So you want to build a community on Instagram. The other thing is that brands want people who know about Instagram when they look for influencers. They want to make sure you know how to use it effectively, that you know how to do stories, those kind of things. And another thing is Instagram can create a separate income stream. There are a lot of brands and affiliate programs now that are run solely on Instagram. But the big reason you should not be building your Instagram is to drive traffic to your site. And like I told you guys, that's why I started building mine, and I was sorely disappointed when my traffic did not explode as my Instagram grew. Okay, so I'll do a quick overview of what we're going to cover, and then I'll stop a little bit after like every 1 or 2 sections to take any questions, okay? And if you have a question and you're on the computer, you can put it in the chat so you don't forget it. And if you're not on computer and you're just listening, then write it down really quick and so that you won't forget it. So we're going to cover your profile, your bio, what it should have in it. We're going to talk about your pictures, your hashtags, your captions, geotagging, engagement, and finding your niche, and stories, and of course reading your Instagram insights. And if you start to get low on time, there's a couple of them I might skip, probably like geotagging or something. Okay, so if you're looking, I'm going to refer a lot to the Disneyland with Kids Instagram account, and I'm doing that specifically because it is a smaller account, and I want to show you guys how even if you don't have a huge following, you can have an account that works for you. Okay, so we're going to talk about your profile, and does anyone, I'll ask a question, I want to get some conversation going. I feel weird being the only one talking. So does anyone have like a big question about your profile before I begin to make sure I address it? Any questions on it? What should be in it? How you should organize it? No?
If you want to give us some suggestions, I'm very interested in hearing them.
Okay. So your profile, I always like to say it's like a first date. You want to give them enough information to know you're not creepy, to know that that you have something in common, and then you want to give them enough information, but not so much that they don't want to come back for more. Like you don't want to give them everything right up front. So if you're looking online and you can see the Disneyland with Kids profile, we let them know what the account's about. It's about Disneyland through a child's eyes, and then we let them know it's featuring their memories that they submit. That's what's unique about this account. It's our followers, our community submits the photos. And then we give them a little bit of information about where they can book their vacation so that they can submit to us if they want to. So it's kind of, we talk a lot about what they can get from it and then how they can participate in it. So with your bios, you need to keep it clean. It needs to have a nice, clean look. Don't do one huge paragraph. Break it up into lines, just like on your blog post, sorry. You need to break it up into little lines so they can digest it a little easier. When it's one big paragraph, it doesn't look good to people. If you're on iPhone, I don't think you can hit enter in between lines. I have an Android, so I'm not sure if that's changed. But you can always format your bio in a note or in Facebook and then copy and paste it over. So I'm switching to mine to show you this next point, is that you need to use bit.ly links. So you get that one link in your profile. You need to have that be a bit.ly link or another shortened link, because Google Analytics does not track the links in your bio unless they're bit.ly links as coming from Instagram. It'll track it as direct. So if you want to see if you're actually getting people clicking through and going all the way to your site, then you'll want a bit.ly link. The biggest question I get from people is, should you have a business account? And the big thing is business accounts do tend to cut reach on your photos, but yes, you should have one. For starters, you cannot use an approved scheduling app unless you have a business account. And second off, the insights that you'll get that we'll cover towards the end of this are a wealth of knowledge. So Christine asked how she should shape her profile, since she is age 70 and she has the 34 and under market. So I would actually worry more about the 45-ish market because there are enough people going up to 45, but let them know what they're going to see. So that's the big thing. Also, don't lie to them. That's the other part about first date. Don't lie to them and make them think they're getting something they're not. So you might want to say just focus on the travel part more than the age part, if you can, on your bio. Okay, so, and I have to click over here. Just a second. There we go. All right. So next we're going to talk about your feed. And I'm hoping you guys will have questions about this because your Instagram feed is extremely important to how well your account performs. So when you're looking at your photos, and I have, if you're online, I have Disneyland with Kids. I have their feed here for you. You need to be your own worst critic. You need to make sure the photos are not blurry. Make sure they're completely in focus, or you're being artistic with your blur, where the focus is. You need to make sure that they're not blown out, that they're not too dark, that they're not undersaturated or oversaturated too much. You need to really look and say, if I saw this picture, would I love it and comment on it if I saw it in my feed and it wasn't my own? The next thing you need to decide is, does your feed make sense? So with the Disneyland with Kids feed, I have some criteria when I ask for submissions. It must have a kid in it because our account is Disneyland with Kids. It wouldn't make sense for us to have a bunch of pictures of adults only in Disneyland, right? So we must have kids in our feed. We only have one picture that does not have kids, and that doesn't have any people in it. It's just me holding tickets because we had a ticket sale at some point, and we were advertising that. And that one's probably going to come out. I'll probably delete it from the feed. But if you are a food blogger, then your feed needs to be mostly food. If you are a travel blogger, like the TravelingMom account, your feed needs to be mostly travel. You can throw in, I always say keep it 90% what you're telling them that your feed is about. 10% can be whatever random things you want to sprinkle throughout. So if you're a lifestyle blogger, then you need to pick 2 to 3 main items that you're going to post on your Instagram. Okay, so if that's travel, food, and crafts, that's fine. But you need to pick 3 and then try to spread it out evenly on there. With your photos, they need to be light, bright, and in focus. Those perform, light and bright perform better in Instagram. So that's why I say light and bright. You don't want dark photos. You want really great lighting. If you go to your feed after this and you look through and you're like, man, some of my pictures, they're not cutting it. Instagram has an archive feature. So just archive those pictures. If it's a sponsored picture, make sure that you're allowed to archive it. Some sponsors are requiring that you not archive them for a year. But if it archive them, and that way they stay on Instagram for you, but they're not out there for the public to see. So you don't lose those pictures, but they're not in your feed that way. And then you need to find your thing. So our thing is kids, and that their pictures that are submitted by other people. If your thing is, some people's thing is they always take a picture, an overhead picture, so it's looking down on things. I think it was Breeze, and I don't know if Breeze is on here, but I looked over her account and I said, I love the pictures where we see the back of your girl's head while you're traveling or exploring or on a boat or whatever, and you see the back of their head, so it like puts the person in the picture. And I think that should be her thing. Whether she followed my advice on that or not, I don't know, but that was my feeling. She had a thing. So find your thing that makes your account unique. And then, of course, the big question on the feed is how often should you post? You can post today if you want. On my big account, I've gone down, just because I'm so busy with other people's accounts, I've gone down to posting only 2 to 3 times a week, and my pictures still do fine. Instagram will not show pictures for 3 to 4 days sometimes. So I just wouldn't post like twice a day or 3 times a day hoping to increase your engagement and being viewed. I'd still keep it to maybe once a day at most. Okay. So is there any questions on your bio or your feed before I move on? None? Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about is hashtags. And I like to say hashtags are the SEO of Instagram. So when you think of hashtags, I want you to think of them like keywords. What would you search if you were looking for that picture or that story? Okay? And just like with Google, there are people that are going to dominate a certain hashtag, and then there's the longer hashtags or the slightly different hashtags that will work better. So you want something people will search. So you're not going to put some random little hashtag that, it's fun to come up with funny hashtags, but they're not going to get you found. So if you're going to put a funny hashtag, like for my twins, they're fraternal twins, and we always get the, they don't look alike, so I always put no, they don't look alike as a hashtag. But that can't be my only hashtag because people aren't out searching that. So if I wanted someone to find that picture, then I would put something like twin boys or mom of twins as a hashtag as well. And just like with Google and our posts as well, you don't want to use oversaturated hashtags, just like you don't want to use an oversaturated keyword. You want something that you're going to rank for. And how it works with Instagram is you want something that's probably like the 3rd most popular search term, like hashtag, when you look at that, when it pops up that list as you start typing a hashtag. Because a lot of people are going to look for it, but not so many that it's going to kick you right out of the top or the most recent post. So you're looking to stay in the most recent for several minutes to several hours instead of for 15 seconds. Okay, so the biggest thing is that you guys need to have a branded hashtag. So a branded hashtag is a hashtag that you create for your brand. And I'll come back to your question in just a second, Christine, that you typed in. So a branded hashtag, for me, I have Love Our Crazy Life, which was my old blog name before I rebranded. And then I have Crazy Adventure called Life. And Disneyland with Kids obviously has Disneyland with Kids. So you need a branded hashtag, one, so people can find you easier. They can follow hashtags now. So I always suggest you encourage in a story or something, encourage your followers to follow your brand hashtag. And the other thing is, if you have a hashtag that is picking up, like our Disneyland with Kids hashtag is, and other people are using it, when people start using it and then they search that hashtag, guess who's going to be either the top post or the most frequent, and who's going to fill up that feed? It'll be you. So then you'll get more people finding you. Okay. The big question, though, is where should you put your hashtags? So there's a big debate whether you should put your hashtags in the caption or in the first comment. There is this unknown thing about whether or not Instagram is shadow banning people that use the first comment for their hashtags. So a lot of people believe they are. There's no proof. Instagram hasn't come out and said that they are, but it's possible. However, whether shadow banning is real or not, you should be putting your hashtags in your caption simply because when you have your business account, which hopefully all of you will have after this, you can track how well your hashtags are performing if they're in the caption, and I'll show you where to do that towards the end when we get to insights. If you put them in the first comment, then you can't do it. You can't look and see how well they're finding them via that. The insights are only for the hashtags within the caption. Okay. All right, so Christine had a question. Let me answer it because it was about the bios and stuff. So our speed question for posting on press trips. Hosts love multiple daily photos. Your expertise recommends daily one-time best. Okay, so what you can do is there's two things you can do. Stories. Everyone should be doing stories, and so I'm going to talk a little about stories here in a moment. That's where you can post all day long as you're going. And the other thing is a album. You can create a slideshow with multiple pictures in it. I found in my feed personally, and it can be different for everyone, so you'll have to watch your your engagement and stuff. But I find that slideshows do not perform very well. But I prefer to do stories, and then I screen capture those stories, or you can put them in a highlight because then people can see them for longer in the highlights. If you have highlights. Not everyone has highlights yet, I don't think. And so do stories instead, and then do your 1 or 2 posts. You could probably do 2 posts a day while on a trip, but I definitely spread them out. Don't do them like right next to each other. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about captions, because captions are how you're going to get people to comment and comment on your photo, not like it. People like it because the photo's pretty, but captions are how you get them to engage with comments, and comments are important. We don't just want a bunch of likes, we want comments. So your captions should be engaging and have a call to action. That's what a CTA is. Give me just a second, because Instagram, oops, I forgot to turn my Facebook off and I have notifications coming up. Instagram changed their layout the other day on me right after I started my presentation, and so I had to totally redo some of this. So instead, we're doing a screencast here. Give me just 1 second while it comes up. But while I'm waiting for that, a lot of people want to know if you should have a long form or a short form caption. And to me, that doesn't matter as much as having your call to action. And a call to action is a question that you're going to ask your audience, or something that's going to make them want to engage with you. And for that to work, you need to put that call to action first. And the reason I say that, and now I can go and show you. It says it's connecting. Hold on. Sorry, it disconnected on me. So the reason that I say to put your call to action first is because people don't expand the caption. And so if you wait and you put it at the bottom, people aren't going to see it. Okay, so while I wait for my phone to connect to my laptop, we're going to talk. The other thing that you need to have at the first of your caption is any disclosures. If you are doing a sponsored post or anything like that, that disclosure has to be seen before people hit see more. And they say the first 3 lines, but I've started to notice in the last few days that my captions have gotten cut off middle of the second line sometimes. So always put those disclosures first, and it can be hosted or ad, or, well, the FTC says hosted doesn't work, but we're not going to get into that today. But put that first. So Sarah, you can have as many hashtags as you want. Sarah came in as I was talking about hashtags, but you need to put them in your caption, not your
first
comment. Yeah, because especially if you have a business account, because you can't track how well they're doing. And I'll show you guys what I mean by that here in a minute. But the other thing is go for quality over quantity. So don't, non-oversaturated ones and all that stuff. Okay. So tips for formatting your caption. So when you format a caption, think of, again, like a blog post. I said Instagram's really popular because it gives people that small bits of information they want. They don't want a long paragraph. And so this is especially important. I think it's iPhone. You still can't break up your paragraphs very well. For you guys, you need to do your captions broken up. So you need to go into like a note or into Facebook and type out your caption, and then go ahead and copy and paste them over so that they make sense, so that they're, you know, broken up, make sense, they're small bits and pieces. Okay. Apparently my phone does not want to connect to my computer, so I won't be able to show that. Okay, so guys, here's my big one that I want to make sure everyone here is doing, especially as travel influencers. Geotag everything. And geotag is adding the location. So it plays into the algorithm. That's the biggest reason why you should geotag, is because it plays into the algorithm and it'll help your posts perform better. It also is searchable. So if people want to search a certain location, let's say you're at Walt Disney World for the Traveling Mom retreat. If people want to search Epcot, they can search Epcot and they can come up with all the posts in Epcot. So it's searchable. It helps you be found that way. It also helps your stories perform better to geotag your stories. So definitely geotag those as well. Do not forget to geotag your stories. So if you want to geotag something and it doesn't come up on Instagram, then you can go into Facebook and create a new location. So it's pulling the geotags from Facebook. The good thing about that is you can actually, if you really don't want to geotag even like the city you're in, like when I geotag from home, I just geotag my state or my city and state. If you still don't want to do that because you don't want anyone to know where you're at, which is perfectly fine, you could always geotag your Facebook page, which is something I've done here a couple of times. So if you go in though and you're like, okay, I'm at Toy Story Land and nobody has created a geotag yet for Toy Story Land, then go into Facebook and create that geotag. And I kind of already talked about this, where to geotag when you're home. So when you're at home and you're doing stories, or you post something that's a craft that you did, if you're a lifestyle blogger or craft blogger, obviously you don't want to geotag your house because you don't want any creepers coming and showing up at your doorstep. But what you can do is geotag the large city is what I say. So if you live an hour outside of Portland, then geotag Portland. Okay? Okay. So here's the big one. A lot of you asked about growing your Instagram, and this is the key. Engagement is the key to growing your Instagram. Instagram, you're not going to get huge growth super fast like you used to. That's kind of gone. It's now hopefully slow and steady. So with engagement, there's a problem with schedulers. We all love our schedulers. We all love Tailwind. Heck, I use Tailwind a little bit myself for some of my Instagram accounts. But the problem with them is, in order for your Instagram to perform well, for people to find you, for your Instagram to grow, you need to be engaging right around the same time that you're posting. And so when you have a scheduler and you set it and forget it, then you're not on there engaging. And when you post, you need to be engaging with similar photos. And so that's the biggest problem with schedulers. That, and you can't geotag with a scheduler. But that you can go add later. But let's say you post a picture of a cat. You need to be going for the next 5 to 10 minutes and interacting. Look up cat pictures, look up the most recent, not most popular, and start interacting with those cat pictures that you find. Because that's going to get people to come back to your account, see your cat picture that you just posted, and it will drive them to engage with you. Okay. So I just talked about when to engage. So you should engage right when you post. There used to be a thing you could do that I did, how I grew my account was called targeted engagement. You could just do it whenever, but that's kind of going away. It was focusing on following people that follow similar accounts and engaging with them. That's kind of gone now. Right now, the way to grow your account is that focused engagement right when you post. So who and what should you engage with? Well, you should engage with similar content to what you're posting at the time, but the who is important. Do not get on and post a travel photo and then go and only interact with your favorite travel bloggers. It's not going to help you grow because the other travel bloggers are either already following you or they may not want to follow you, and they may be one of those accounts that they don't follow back people that engage with them. You need to be going and following regular, not following, but engaging with regular, everyday people that are posting on Instagram, okay? So do engagement groups and chore threads hurt you? This is a big question I see a lot, and the answer is they could. It depends how you use them. So basically, Instagram, we all know that a lot of likes and a lot of comments boost your post performance. However, the problem with engagement groups and chore threads is it's the same people commenting and posting on and liking every single post you put up. Does that make sense? And Instagram starts to notice that. It starts noticing, well, they're only getting the same people liking it every single time, so why should we show it to new people? So if you're going to use engagement groups and chore threads, the smart way to do it is to have 2 to 3 of each and rotate which ones you're using. So one day you might use one, engagement group A, and that's the ones like we have for Traveling Mom on Instagram, where you send your photo and everyone likes and comments. And then the next day you use a different one. And then the next day you use a third one. And then kind of rotate them. It will help kind of make it so that different people are liking and commenting every single day. And the same thing with chore threads. You need to be rotating which ones you use. And also on chore threads, I would suggest waiting 12 to 24 hours before submitting to a chore thread. I know it's really tempting to go and put it in right away so you start getting those likes as quick as possible. The problem with that is you can't watch your organic reach, and so you won't know if your organic reach is falling due to having doing chore threads. Okay. So the next thing is we're going to talk about finding your niche. Give me just 1 second, guys. I'm really trying to get my phone to connect so I can show you guys this. Connected like 5 minutes ago. There it goes. Okay. So we're going to talk about finding your niche. So let me get into this Instagram account so I can show you guys. Here is the Disneyland with Kids Instagram account. This account, so like I told you guys, I chose this one because it's a smaller account, and I wanted to show you guys that you don't have to have a huge account to have it be successful. And of course, our niche is Disneyland with kids. So the big thing is, the saying is niches bring riches, I guess is what it's called, what people say. And the more niche down that you are, the easier it's going to be for your Instagram account to succeed. So if you are 80% travel on your blog, be 80% or more travel on Instagram. The more focused you can be, the easier it's going to be for your Instagram to have engagement. I do absolutely nothing with this account other than post to it, and I do that through Tailwind because I just don't have time. It's something I'd love to be able to really focus on, but I don't have time for it. It's an extra account that I just can't focus on. But if you look, we only have 1,700 followers. This was posted yesterday, so it hasn't shown up in everyone's feed yet. And it already has 146 likes, one of which is me, so that doesn't really count, but 145. But when you come to the insights, I'm going to show you, it pops up. Within a day, we've already reached 950 people. And for those of you that know that maybe have a larger account, you know that it can be kind of hard to even get that many when you have thousands and thousands of followers. But because this account is so niche down, it's a lot easier for it to get likes and comments and follows and things like that. So, okay, so you need to limit your topics. Like I said, if you're lifestyle and you really need to cover lifestyle a lot on your Instagram, choose 2 to 3 topics at most that you're going to cover. The more niche down you can get, the better. The easier your Instagram is going to be for you. Disney always performs well, but I know that most of us are not strictly Disney, so if you can be 90% travel, you're probably going to do better than if you were travel plus, crafts plus parenting topics. How to choose your niche is basically what I was just talking about. Whatever you enjoy the most from your blog, that's what you need to be posting about on Instagram. So even if your blog is 50-50 food and travel, pick which one you love the most and you find the most fun. Focus on that on Instagram. Make that be your main topic. So when you're going for your hashtags and you're using niche, you want to use niche down hashtags. So for Disneyland, of course, all of our hashtags are Disneyland hashtags. And let me bring this back up to show you the insights so that you can see how well these hashtags perform. So when you go into your insights, and I'm going to do a little bit more on this in just a minute, if you come down here to see who found us, you can see on this 195 people found us from our hashtags. On my own personal account, where I don't use as niche down of hashtags, I never get that many people really finding me. I usually get more like, 60 people finding me from hashtags, and I have, higher numbers there. So that shows you right there. You can look at those and find out how well your hashtags are doing. I can go to another post. I just know that one did really well with the hashtags. This one, we didn't do very well with our hashtags. We only got 6 people finding us from hashtags. And that one, I think, is because I had originally put things like Insta-Cute and things like that maybe would do well on a parenting site, but didn't do well for our Disneyland audience. Okay. Sorry, every time I exit out, I have to put this back up. Okay, so stories, though, are your chance to break free from whatever niche you're picking as your main niche or 2 to 3 on your feed. So stories can be basically about whatever you want them to be about. And so that's what we're going to talk about next. But before I go down to stories, any questions about anything I've covered so far?
Yeah, you said something about quality hashtags, and when you were talking about good quality hashtags, I'm not quite sure what that means. Does that mean a niche hashtag and not something really broad like travel?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. So what you need to do, so the first quality hashtags is that they're not oversaturated. So that's when I talked about when you start to type something in and there's it lists how many times people have used them, you don't want that thing that has 20 million hashtags. You want the one that maybe only has 1 million hashtags used. So
like a million isn't oversaturated.
Well,
it doesn't have to be something like 40,000 or 50,000.
40,000 and 50,000 is good too. So the problem with it is when you look at that, that's how many times people have ever used that hashtag. So while 1 million seems like a ton, spread that out over however many years Instagram's been around, and it's really not as bad as it seems. Of course, you want to go down farther if you can, but you also want to make sure people are still searching it. So this is actually something I really like about Tailwind, is because it will tell you whether your hashtags have a good chance of performing well or not and helping you. They'll tell you if it's oversaturated or if it's a good one, and then niched ones. Niched ones are good because you're going to find the right people that you want to find them. So for our Disneyland with Kids, we want people that are interested in Disneyland, and yeah, they can be interested in kids, but they need to be interested in Disneyland. So we don't just want people looking for kids pictures, we want people looking for Disneyland pictures specifically. So that's why I said we use Insta-Cute or something and Insta-Kids or something on that one. It didn't work well because that's not the people we wanted, and it was an oversaturated hashtag too. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions about anything I've covered before I move on to stories? The stories is kind of a big one, I think. And I only have a few more minutes, so I probably have to rush through it. But all right. So stories. Big thing is you can't ignore them. We need to be doing stories. Brands want stories. Locations are expecting us to cover them in stories while we're there. They play into the algorithm, so they'll help your posts perform better. Plus, a lot of people have more people that see their stories than see their posts. So if you're having any problems with your posts reaching people, stories. The great thing about stories is they're behind the scenes. You don't need to have it look beautiful and perfect. It can be everyday life. You don't have to have your makeup done. You can do whatever with them. It helps your audience feel connected to you, like they're getting a little insider information, like they're your best friend. The big question is how many stories. And so I had a gal that has a small account. She's under 10,000. I think she has 8,000 followers. And her and I were talking about stories, and she came into a group I run for Instagram, and she challenged them all to do 12 stories a day. And she gets like thousands and thousands of views on her stories. So she said that you need to have at least 10 little bars, 10 frames of stories per day on the days you're doing stories. And you should be doing them at least 5 days a week. So if you're really wanting to get into stories and Instagram, then that's how many you should aim for. I challenge people to be doing 3 to 4 a day. But she is like way, way up there in stories and doing really well with them. She challenges 10 to 12. So what kind of stories? Stories should be pictures, video, kind of hold off on the boomerangs and the rewinds and all that stuff unless you have a really young audience. They don't perform as well. Swipe up. A lot of you are wondering if swipe up is important. I'm not going to lie, it helps. It's nice that I can tell people on my account, swipe up and go to my story, but it's not the only thing that you can do. One thing that I still do this with swipe up, but a lot of other people have great success with that don't have swipe up, is that they will talk, they'll do a little video of them talking about a post that they just did. Then they'll do a second video where they're scrolling through their post on their computer. So the screen is looking at them scrolling through the post. And then they'll say, go to my blog to read more, that kind of thing. So swipe up is not the end of the world. It's not like the thing you must have. Highlights, if you have a story you need to show for brands, highlights are a great way to collect them. Not everyone has highlights yet, and so the thing with highlights is if someone has not had highlights rolled out to their account, they cannot see highlights on someone else's account. So just know that if you're telling people to go check out the highlights on your account and they're like, I don't see any, then that's why. Okay, sorry, I kind of rushed through stories. It's going to try and pop up over here. We're going to exit out of that. But I really want to get to showing you guys your insights. So before I do that, any quick questions about stories? Because we're getting really short on time. Anything? Okay. So rather than try and go through all these slides, I'm just going to bring up, as I ignore this phone call, I'm going to bring up my screen here. Okay, and we're going to go in here and I will show you insights. So, is there anybody on here that does not have a business account?
Me. I had one for Leslie. I had one for like a day and switched back.
I know, you and I have talked about that. All right, Leslie. So, a few reasons that you guys should have business accounts is that you can see the insights, and also that's the only way you can use schedulers, okay, or anything with an API. So definitely some reasons to have Instagram business accounts. So I'm going to show you guys the insights and how you can kind of learn stuff about your audience this way. So here is Insights changed a week ago. I had finished all my video and slides for this presentation, and it changed, which is why I'm live casting my screen instead. It totally changed the layout. So the first thing you have is your activities, and it will tell you things like profile visits. The good thing about profile visits, it lets you know if your engagement with other accounts is working, if they're coming back to look at your profile. It will tell you how many people have clicked on your emails and how many people have hit get directions. It also tells you about your reach and your impressions. So reach is how many individual accounts have seen your content. Impressions is how many times your content has been shown in feeds. So the difference is if you have 5 people that see your picture, then the reach is 5. But if all 5 of those people see it twice, then the impressions are 10, if that makes sense. The great thing is Instagram knows that some of the stuff they tell us is confusing, so they have a what does this mean button at the bottom of everything. So if you have no clue what it means, you just go down here and you look. So the content is where you're going to see your most popular content, and then you can go from there and click on it and see your insights. And that's where you can look and see your reach, your actions, which is that people take, which is profile visits or get directions, those type of things. The discovery of your account, you can find out how many of the people were following you and how many, and weren't. How many people ended up following you because of that picture. And all the good stuff, the impressions, whether it came from the home feed, from hashtags, if they were on your profile, then found the picture, and then other, which I have no clue other is probably direct links from outside sources. Then the big one. This is the one you guys need to worry about. And I'm going to try and wrap up here really quick. But this is your audience. And this is what you need to know the most when you're dealing with your Instagram is your audience demographics. So it's going to tell you your genders. And then it's going to tell you the age range of your audience. No surprise here, with Disneyland Kids, 25 to 34 is our biggest age range. You can click on men, find out how many, what their ages are, and then women, and see what their ages are. So you can break it down even more. You can go down, you can find their locations. And of course, we're a Disney site, so these, and a Disneyland one, so these locations make pretty good sense for being our top ones is Los Angeles and San Diego, and have Anaheim and Orlando in there. New York's the only one that's kind of like, I wonder why someone's following a Disneyland account from New York. And then you can go to your countries. Again, nothing strange here. United States is the main one. United Kingdom, it's a little different, but we get a lot of people from Australia and Canada in our group, so I'm not surprised with that. If you were to come in here and you were to see something like, I don't know, some weird town in some remote country, or if Nigeria is your main followers or something like that, then you know you might be a target of bots. So that's something to look at. And then, of course, the biggest thing is your followers and when they're active. And this is what you guys really should care about. And this is all under the Audience tab in Insights. And it tells you the times of day that they're most active. It tells you, and then you can look at the actual days that they are most active. And the reason this is important is, of course, you want to try and post during those times. And the other reason it's important is because it lets you know when to do stories. You want to try and do stories during the times that your audience is active. Because stories are kind of like, they're chronological. So once you've done your story, if you don't post again for a few hours, then you go farther down that story feed and they may not see it. So you want to be doing it while they're active so that they're seeing it as you're posting it. But so that is the main thing on the insights here. Does anyone have any questions on these insights before I show you the last thing I wanted to show you guys? No? Okay. Pretty self-explanatory. Now, let's say you absolutely do not want to get a business account because you're worried about it cutting your reach. You can sign up for, oops, wrong window, look, a 4-card. And if you're on the computer, you can see what I'm looking at. So it's at 4.co, FOHR.co. Basically, it's kind of like when you sign up for a network and you hook up all your different profiles. But they have given me the most in-depth information about my audience of anything I've ever connected to before. So let me go down and I will show you what I mean by this. Okay, so the first thing that 4 does is it will break down, and it takes a long time to analyze. So this, I've been on 4 for like, I want to say 3 months, and it's only analyzed 61% of my followers because it really analyzes them. It tells you how many are active, how many are lurkers, how many bots you have. So you can see this all right here on the left-hand side if you're looking on my screen. But on top of that, it goes down, it gives you some of the same stuff Instagram does. It gives you the genders and the age ranges and the locations, but then it also gives you states and cities, their income levels. So you can find out if you get approached by a brand that says, I'd really, really like you to feature our product, but it's a high-end product. This right here will tell you if it's going to appeal to your audience, okay? This will let you know if you should be pitching luxury hotels and using your Instagram as part of your pitch or not. It also tells you their occupations and their marital status. Now, it does tell you the parental status, but I found that is way off because I know that a lot more of my Instagram followers have kids than 37%. But it'll tell you their favorite brands. It tells you the most used hashtags by the people that follow you. It tells you their top interests. So like on mine, here I can see that 26.5% of my followers on the Becca Robbins Instagram account like amusement parks and theme parks. So it tells you like who they're following as far as big influencers like Ellen DeGeneres and Disney. So it really breaks it down. So if you are, even if you have insights on Instagram, I suggest doing a 4-code because also there are brands now starting to ask for a 4-card. They'll call it a 4-card. And they're starting to ask for it because they'll verify whether your influence is real. So let me scroll back up and find where it's at. Here it is. So right here, if you have, I don't know what their percentage is. I think it's like under 5% bots, or I don't know what it is, following you. They'll give you a check mark, which means your influence is real. So a lot of brands and places are starting to ask for a 4-card. So I definitely suggest signing up for it either way. But if you don't want to do the business account right now, definitely sign up for this and get those insights. The only problem with it is it doesn't tell you when your audience is active. But if you think you can figure that part out, then go for it. But definitely, 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 everyone should sign up for a 4-card. Okay, so any questions on anything Instagram? Anything?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, it took me a minute to get to my mute button. So I'm not sure what they're called. It's all those little circles that people have now. Is that the highlights?
Yes.
So, yeah.
The highlights.
Should we be doing those? And are those video stories, or are those pictures, or are they both?
They can do any kind of story. So if you're going to start highlights, here's my first suggestion. All the highlights play in, let me bring up my screencast again here. All the highlights play in chronological order of when you posted the story. So if you post stories and then create your cover and put it all in together, it's going to go story, story, cover, story, story. So if you think you're going to start wanting to use stories, I suggest creating your covers right now. So here we do it for like on Disneyland with Kids. We have it as there's one that's Meet the Admins, and I don't know why it keeps erasing half the admins off of it. I need to figure out why. It keeps erasing everyone but me. Let me go to my account here. Okay, so one great thing about these is if you have a set of stories you have to do for like a trip, a press trip. So I did Seattle to San Diego, and I put all of those, get rid of that, into one story or one highlight. So I can put them all there and everyone can look through them and see them. So anything that's sponsored with that, part of the trip is sponsored or hosted, then I am able to, and this is what I was talking about, the highlight being or the cover being in the middle. So I'm able to have that there. I can still see the reach and everything for any brands that want to see it. Now, what you put in slides, that depends on what you cover in your stories. So like for me, I don't even remember what I said I had in there. What I have in there. I have a Disney one for sure. Family travel, a family life, which is like lifestyle stuff. And then I have one for trying new things because I'm trying to do 40 things for Friend 4B. So those are my highlights that I have. But yeah, they are great for organizing them. I just don't feel like people are going and checking them out. Does that make sense? Like I don't think people can come to it to see my highlights. But it's great for showing brands and for highlighting your stories and letting brands see what you can do. So. Yeah.
Okay, and you can put pictures and video in there, right?
Yes. Anything that's posted as a story. So let me go and show you. Bring back up that screencast here. So when you go in and you create one, if I wanted to add to this, you see there's three. I don't know if you're online or not. There's three little dots, and you can highlight. And then you go to your archive, and I can take any story from my archive that's up here to go into that one. But it'll post it in whatever order the stories were posted to Instagram when they originally posted. Or you can add, I think you can take a new one. I didn't look. But I never do a new one. I always post them from the archive. But yeah, you can do video. Anything you can put in a story can go into that. It just pulls from your stories.
Okay, I think I have hardly done any stories, and I think I've just been confused because I thought they were all those 30-second videos. I didn't know they were pictures too. So
yeah, no, stories can be pictures. What I suggest doing is going in and playing with stories. You can completely do a story and just not send it to your stories, but everyone should do stories. So until you get used to them and ready, so oops, wrong thing. Then you should be like, you can play around. Like I could sit here and take I feel odd. I could take a picture of me in my office, on my computer, and I could take a picture, and I can do everything that I want to do to it, like add stickers or a poll or whatever. And you can do all that and just not hit that your story. Here's the your add to your story or send to. You can just do none of that.
I've done that. So yeah. I usually don't send it because I don't like the way it turns out.
Yeah. So be doing that. It can be pictures, and it doesn't even have to. You used to have to be a picture within the last 24 hours. It doesn't even have to be that anymore. You can pull any picture from your gallery now.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Well, that's all I have. I wish I could have done more in-depth stuff with you guys, but we only have an hour, so kind of have to rush. If you guys have any questions about Instagram or anything, feel free to post them in the group, and I will answer them as best as I can. Instagram is really powerful if you learn to do it, but the big thing is just to know it's not about driving traffic to your site. It is about creating a community, basically kind of having a totally separate spot that you can influence. And to think about, like, if you have YouTube, Your YouTube isn't necessarily to drive people to your site. It's to have them find you on YouTube. Plus, you also have a blog. So it's the same kind of thing with Instagram. You may get some traffic, but it's never going to be this huge traffic driver that, like, gets you hundreds and hundreds of ad dollars because of all the traffic you're getting from Instagram. All right, guys. I think that's it if there's no other questions. So I don't know if Deb's still on here.
I'm here. Thank you, everybody. This is going to, I'm going to download this from pre-conference call and upload it as a YouTube, so I will send out that link. It'll be a private link, so please don't share it with anyone outside the network. But that way we can keep it without using up our space in pre-conference call. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.